Economic systems. So let's briefly go over what economic systems are. These are systems that are developed. They were developed to organize the exchange of goods and services, and it's just a way that countries figure out how they generate revenue for their people, or how their people generate revenue. All nations must answer three basic economic questions, and they are: one, what goods and services should be produced? The next one is how those goods and services should be produced. And the third question is who gets the goods and services that are produced. So these are the three basic questions that all economic systems, we'll look at several different ones today, but each one of these economic systems has to answer these three basic questions. What goods and services should be produced? How will these goods and services be produced? And who gets the goods and services that are produced? So we'll go over the four basic economic systems, and the first one we'll take a look at is the traditional economic system, or traditional economies. Just based on the illustrations that you see, we can talk a little bit about traditional economies. What traditional economies are is that you'll find them mostly in underdeveloped countries or third world countries, developing countries. And what they are is that what you do is determined, or the three questions are answered by what someone does for, what someone's family has done for a living. So, for example, using this illustration, if the people in this picture, they didn't necessarily choose to be rice farmers, their families were rice farmers, and because in a traditional economy, your job is generally what your family's job is, or your family chooses what your job is, you're born to be rice farmers, whether or not you're good at it or not. Even if you are better suited to be a doctor, or if you're better suited to be a blacksmith, you'll be a rice farmer. And also, when you take a look at this next illustration, you can see with the a traditional economy, underdeveloped, if you look in the background, you'll see it appears to be an underdeveloped nation. Does not appear, if you look at the house, it's a tin roof. Not necessarily the kind of place, if you look at the gate, it's being made of bamboo sticks. Not what you would think of a modern country. So when we say underdeveloped countries, I mean like countries that are not developed. And in a traditional economy, the customs and traditions, they determine what is produced and how the items are produced. Market economies. Now, market economies, I use the illustration of Wall Street to illustrate what market economies are. Just explaining to you what Wall Street is, if you guys aren't aware. Wall Street is the center of the economic world. One of the centers of the world economies. It's in New York, on Wall Street in New York, and it is where the financial markets are. This is where a lot of companies, where shares of companies are bought and sold, where a lot of government bonds are bought and sold, which is government debt, where people buy and sell different types of currencies and securities. Wall Street is a street of different markets where buyers and sellers come together to purchase currencies, securities, and debt instruments. So in a market economy, the individuals and private groups, they are the people who answer the three questions. They answer the three questions. So individuals make the decisions about how to produce, how much to produce, and what to buy. The government has no input in a truly market economy. Everything is based on consumer demand and consumer supply. Now, market economies are based on the free enterprise system, which is capitalism. And what capitalism is based on the ideal that individual groups have the right to own their own property and conduct their own businesses for a profit with little or no government interference, with as little government interference as possible. And that is what the market system is based on. It's based on capitalism, which once again says that individuals have the right to own their property and conduct their business with as little government interference at all as possible. And just kind of following up again, just reiterating or restating, in a free enterprise system, the people choose what jobs they will do and for whom they'll work for. Also, two things that drive the free enterprise systems are the consumer driven and competition. So the two things, or the two primary driving concepts in a free enterprise system, are the consumers, which are represented by this lady. The consumers choosing to either buy a product or not buy a product, or to purchase a service or not purchase a service, and the competition between different vendors for the consumer, and the competition, which is illustrated by these rams butting heads. So consumers and competition drive a free enterprise system, not government regulation, not any sort of long-term planning. Now, the third type of economy that we'll discuss are mixed economies. And before I go further, most economies in the world, let me get this, make sure that I explain this to you guys. When you're looking at this graphic, or when you're looking at this illustration, this is a map of the world, of the major economies or the developed nations in the world. You see that most of the world is not what we would consider a developed world, right? It's not a developed country. So we have the United States and Canada. We have Europe. We have a little bit of the Middle East, a little bit of Japan. We have Asia, Australia, South Africa. Now, this is a little older. So right now, this map is maybe about 5-10 years older. So maybe certain parts of South America will be considered. Maybe Brazil, their middle class is growing at a rapid pace. Maybe they could be considered a first world country or a developed nation. If not now, very soon. But these are all the developed nations in the world, and they are all mixed economies. What you would probably believe is that the developed nations in the world, and if you guys watch television and people scream about socialism and all that stuff about our economy, you would lead you to believe that the United States of America and the successful countries in the world have a capitalistic or a free market economy. That is wrong. We all have mixed economies. There is not a truly market economy anywhere in the world. And what a mixed economy does, it's just an economy that is pretty much a mixture between a command economy and a free market economy. I know we have not discussed command economies yet, but basically in a mixed economy, the government interferes, or the government has some say-so in the economy, as well as private individuals. So private individuals and the government work together and regulate the marketplace. So the government's main goal in a mixed economy is to preserve the free market. So where the government's main goal is to preserve the free market, prevent monopolies, to make sure that there is always competition. And what monopolies are, that's just when one company becomes too big or too strong and they can dominate an industry. The danger in that is that if a company becomes too strong and they dominate an industry, then that prevents competition. Competition is good because theoretically it keeps prices low for the consumer. It forces vendors to give the consumers the absolute best prices and the absolute best service. Now, if there's no one to compete against, then a vendor can charge a consumer whatever they feel like, and the consumer would have to purchase it. Now, in a mixed economy, once again, governments influence these economies in different ways. One way is by tax cuts or tax breaks. Also, the government also supports social services such as health care, education, and housing. So the government in a mixed economy also supports social services such as health care, education, and housing. So pretty much all of the economies in the world are mixed economy. What you'll see is as we move forward, or as we study different nations, There are no economies that are truly economic systems that are truly in practice all one way or another. It's good in theory, but in practice and in real life, most economic systems are mixed and they are a blend. And the United States, once again, the United States is a mixed economy. Not just the United States. All of the developed nations in the world are mixed economies. Now, command economies, which you guys probably know from this illustration of the old Soviet Union, the former Soviet Union, which is no longer in existence, the USSR. This used to be a communist bloc of nations that in Eastern Europe. And what that means in a command economy, they were a command economy. That is when the government controls and answers all of the three questions. So in a command economy, the government answers all the three questions. The government decides what to produce, how to produce it, and whom to produce it for. The government also maintains complete control over all the factors of production, which are just the means of creating, products, land, labor, and capital. The individual citizens in a command economy have little or no say in their economic choices. So command economies are similar to traditional economies in that way. If you grow up and you're good as a welder, or if you have skills as a welder, the government can dictate what you do. You may not be able to be a welder. If the government tells you not to be a welder, then you go work in the factories or do whatever job the government assigns you to. Command economies and traditional economies are similar in that way. Now, the whole idea behind command economies, and I guess you guys are asking yourselves, well, why would anyone even develop this kind of system? The whole idea behind command economies are that it is best for society when everyone is equal economically. So what command economies try to do is to distribute income equally among all of the citizens, and the belief is that if the money is split, or if all the wealth is split equally amongst all the citizens, everyone benefits. You have no poor people, right? No one is poor. And then people could focus on doing what was best for society as a whole, and then not what is best for the individual. Sounds awesome, right? Well, in practice, it has not worked, and it does not work at all. In practice, has not worked at all. No command economies have been successful in history. And these are some of the homework questions I want to make sure that you guys answer. They should be on your notes guide. I'll be checking that. These are questions just for you and your opinion. Number one, what types of governments do we normally associate with having complete control, like in a command economy? I think I gave you guys the answer to a little bit of that. Number two, how would two countries having different economic systems affect their trading habits? What I'm asking is, how do you have two countries, if country A is a command economy and country B is a mixed economy? How would that affect their ability to work together in things like trade or economically? Because they have two different economic systems. And now this should be three. If you were a government leader, what would you do to remedy this problem? The end. Have a good day. See you in class.